It's 5 p.m. on a rainy Sunday. The year is 2026. I'm thinking of my early years and the thought comes to my mind. I should definitely play Pokemon Emerald again. I sit down in front of my computer, download an emulator, download Pokemon Emerald, play for a couple of hours, and never play this save ever again. And I mean, the same cycle repeats itself every few years. Nostalgia hits, I'm brought back in time, and an insatiable desire to live my childhood sparks again. Sometimes it's Minecraft, sometimes it is League of Legends, sometimes it is an old classic on the Nintendo 64 like Ocarina of Time or Mario 64. I mean, I miss those games and I miss spending time playing in front of them. Just the feeling is never going to be the same. And chasing the nostalgia high as a price, I'm never fulfilled. I always feel disappointed when I launch one of these games. The feel of discovery is gone and never to return, and the feel of adventure, the adrenaline rush due to mundane events happening in the video game, all of this is gone. I mean, I remember my first night playing Minecraft and surviving, where I just dug a hole and spent the whole night there, like literally being scared to death playing this. I remember the same feeling of the first time I ever played Club Penguin, and it was this magical place. I was maybe only 10 years old at the time playing this game, and I had so much fun, and I was meeting so many people, and just all these video games, and I mean, these mini games were so nice and so intense. I remember the first time I saved enough money to buy myself a Puffle. I don't even remember if the name is Puffle. Maybe it is. I completely forgot. I remember as well my first Elite Four run when I was playing Pokemon Emerald when I was a child. I remember just saving between each battles and having to try them at least, I don't know, 5 times each until I realized when I reached Glacia, that I couldn't go any further. My team was just not strong enough yet. And I remember the pain of having to lose on purpose and having to lose all the items I had to use. And oh my god, it was so intense for me at the time. And I mean, for me, the best example of this is when I first played my first ranked game in League of Legends. I remember I was so stressed. The adrenaline rush throughout the whole game was intense. I was so scared of doing something wrong and that people would be mad at me and that I wouldn't be able to enjoy myself, I guess, in a way. But I remember this excitement was so intense every time, this feeling of discovery of each game, that I could not hold it for myself. I had to spread it to the world. I was always telling about it to my friends, my brother, my family. I was so hyped. And I always wonder if I was alone with these symptoms, because this permanent nostalgia keeps hitting me all over again. Even in the most mundane aspect of life, like a sunset in July, a winter evening by the fire, or a night out with friends, every time I feel like these moments will never happen again. This brings a certain bittersweetness to these episodes. I'm so scared, I think, not to grow old, because I feel like, I mean, in a way, I'm scared of the future of the world, but myself being old, I don't mind that much. It's more about how we are just screwing the planet over and with global warming and all these things. And I mean, I'm not thrilled about AI. I'm not thrilled about our future and the way it's going right now. And I feel like maybe it's the case for a lot of people from my generation. And that's why we want to go back to more simple things like being able to grow your own food, to have your garden, and to live in a community. Like this, we feel more connected to one another. And I mean, I'm nostalgic of the present. I mean, it's okay. And I only been hit recently by this disease of realizing how time flies by. And in the end, the bastard only goes one way. It only goes forward. And I remember telling myself when I turned 24 that I was closer to my 30s than to my 18th birthday. But at the same time, I don't want to be my 18-year-old self once more, as I would be so embarrassed to be this awkward and dumb kid once more. I would I would definitely punch myself, I think. But at the same time, I will never be this naive and enthusiastic ever again. I mean, COVID had not been a thing yet. The climate change issues were we were aware of them coming, and but it was not that big of an issue at the time, and I think my naivety at the time was just the only reason why I was not so anxious about that. I was still careful about things and about not being too much of a burden for the environment, but I feel like I was enthusiastic about the future of this world. Now I'm not anymore, I think. I was living in a sort of bubble. There was no AI bullshit, no 40 degrees summer, no war in Ukraine, just pure optimism of the youth. Maybe my nostalgia is due to the fact that the more time flies by, the more I have a pessimistic view on the future. And the more pessimistic view of the future I have, the more nostalgic I become. So I guess it makes sense. Maybe it's my way to cope with the destruction of our world in a sense. But I mean, being high on nostalgia has its perks though. I always say that life is a blessing, and I say how I feel towards my friends and family pretty much every day. But don't forget, nostalgia hits you hard when you first consume it. And coming back to reality is always gonna hurt. But living a small parenthesis in this crazy world is never gonna hurt anyone, I think. I mean, feel free to escape this madness however best suits you. But for me, I feel like I was a dad for a second. But for me, it's gonna be always a rainy afternoon sitting in front of the computer playing Minecraft. Anyway, see you next time.